I think one of my key messages is get on it if you're not already.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking. Talked about IFRS deadlines, but in the EU, the CSRD, so the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, is due to go to the Parliament in June, I believe, and so we're going to see that really coming into play along the timelines we expected. So for a lot of organisations, that's 25 full year data for 25 reporting in 26. That's not actually that far away, and I think. Don't think about this just as data, but think about this needs to be part of your digital strategy as well. There are tools out there, and the best tools will make sure your data is auditable and ready to come into your ERP. Because my recommendation for a lot of entities is do consider having a carbon ledger next to your GL, and that when the minute I say that, people say, okay, now I understand why you're talking about it now for full year 25 data, because anything where you're touching your ERP, touching the interfaces into your ERP, that takes time and it's got to be gotten right. And not all of the ERP providers are yet clear what their offer is in this space. Still under development. So it would be nice if the off the shelf products were there, but they are not in all cases. So CFOs are going to have to look at what is the tool set they want to use across the planning, appraisal, reporting space. So I think that's one thing worth mentioning. And the other thing is probably around skills and competencies, which always something that you're particularly interested in, I'm sure. So as finance people, we're used to dealing with finance data. Are we used to dealing with methane, right? Nitrous oxide? I had to look up some things this morning, which I hadn't done since I was 16 and last did chemistry, So that's the reality. There's a whole bunch of things which are not really in the comfort zone for most finance, but you're going to have to get comfortable with it. So have a look at what you yourself as CFO need to upskill in terms of understanding, but then also start thinking about what does that mean for your organization as a whole? What are the additional competencies, the new roles that you're going to have to get going, and think about, do you have the right connection with, particularly with HSSE and HR, because those are the other two main players. And it may be in your organization you already do, but it may be not. So have a look at whether, organizationally, in the widest sense, things are set up for success, because it's quite a big change coming with a very specific deadline. And finance people are sometimes already used to that with, changes to accounting standards or whatever it might be. But are the other colleagues also ready for this relatively dramatic change potentially, and the hard timelines and the rigor that's going to be needed? So that's the other space I'd suggest people have a wee look at now. And it's a lot of stuff. It's broad, so you can feel yourself spread quite thin. Feel your organization spread quite thin. So especially with the labor market as it is now, it's time to think about how you're going to really resource and not put horrific strain on your organization to get there, I would say.
Yeah.